fellow duelists, Russ Merrill here, and today we're going to be breaking down the mechanics of the new GENERAID Archetype from Deck Build Pack Mystic Fighters that Konami just revealed. So it looks like I was pretty spot on with my prediction that the GENERAID Archetype basically consists of kings or queens of respective monster types, whether it be plant, warrior, or machine. What you need to know is that every GENERAID monster is level 9 and has two effects. Their first effect prevents you from having more than one copy of each GENERAID face up on the field at any point in time. Their second effect is typically an ignition effect that supports both the GENERAID deck as well as the monster type of that GENERAID. And for all of them so far, their card named second effects can only be activated once per turn. So let's take a look at these rulers. First we have the GENERAID of Light, Mardell. She's the GENERAID of Plant type, and if she is normal or special summoned, you can add one GENERAID card or one Plant type monster other than Mardell herself from your deck to your hand. Next we have the GENERAID of Warrior types, the GENERAID of Sword, Brody. You can tribute any number of GENERAID monsters or Warrior type monsters from your side of the field to target that same number of monsters on the field. Destroy those monsters and your opponent gets to draw cards for each of his monsters that was destroyed by this effect. And this is a quick effect, so you can use it on the opponent's turn as well. At a glance, this might not seem very good because even though you're basically sacrificing your monsters to destroy your opponent basically gets to replenish their hand for each of their monsters destroyed, but that letting the opponent draw is actually going to be quite an important mechanic in this deck, which we will get to later in the spells and traps. Next we have the GENERAID of Machine type, the GENERAID of Iron, Dovelgs. You can tribute any number of GENERAID monsters or Machine type monsters from your field. Special summon that many GENERAID monsters or Machine type monsters with different names from the tributed monsters from your hand in defense position. Not only do the summoned monsters need to have different names from the tributed monsters, they must also have different names from each other, so you cannot special summon multiple copies of the same monster from your hand using this effect. And just like Brody, this is a quick effect, so you can use it on the opponent's turn as well. Next we have the GENERAID of the Beast Warrior type, the GENERAID of Flames, Nagurfa. When cards on your field will be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can destroy one GENERAID monster or one Beast Warrior type monster on your field instead. Next we have the GENERAID of the Worm type, the GENERAID of Ice, Nidoheg. If your opponent special summons a monster, you can tribute one GENERAID or one Worm type monster from your field, negate that special summon, and destroy the monster. Finally, we have the GENERAID of the Zombie or Undead type, the GENERAID of Death, Hell. You can tribute one GENERAID or one zombie type monster on your field, target one GENERAID or one zombie type monster in your graveyard with a different name, special summon that monster in defense position, and this is a quick effect so you can use it on your opponent's turn as well. So just to wrap up this section on the main deck GENERAID monsters, it feels like these monsters are all designed so that they'll be able to function as utility in both a core and full pure GENERAID deck, as well as decks that are not GENERAID but basically revolve around a certain type. For example, we have Hell here. She basically supports both GENERAID and Zombie, so it might be possible to use her as utility in a Zombie deck as well. However, considering that they are level 9, requiring 2 tributes to normal summon, and they don't have any effects that basically allow them to be special summoned from the hand or grave with ease, and also the fact that their effects are actually not that powerful considering they cannot be special summoned and have to be normal summon, I do not think they are like very good cards to be used in a non-GENERAID deck. Essentially, I think that the main deck GENERAID monsters are actually quite weak considering their summon cost, and they only really function well when boosted by the spells and traps of this deck, which we are about to get to soon. First, let's take a look at the rank 9 Xyz monster of this deck, the Eternal GENERAID Jormungandr. Jormungandr is a reptile and you need 2 or more level 9 monsters to Xyz summon this guy. Just like the main deck GENERAIDs, you can only have one face-up Jormungandr on your field. Second effect, this card's original attack and defense is the number of Xyz materials it has times 1000, so at the very minimum it'll have 2k when you first Xyz summon it. This card name's third effect can only be activated once per turn. You can detach one Xyz material from this card. Each player draws one card from your deck. After that, each player who drew a card must choose one card from their hand or field and place it under this monster as an Xyz material. And this is a quick effect, so you can activate it on your opponent's turn as well. So basically, you'll be wanting to activate this guy's third effect every single turn, because every time you detach one material, you'll gain 2 back, and you manage to like, well, I mean, even though your opponent is basically plus 1ing off that draw, they kind of still have to sacrifice one card to you as material, which seems to be the whole point of Jormungandr, which is to basically collect as much Xyz materials as possible and just have a lot of attack, a lot of defense, and just be very hard to get through in terms of battle, but it is super vulnerable to like effect destruction and other forms of effect removal because it has no protection effects at all. And considering that it's going to require at least 2 level 9 monsters to summon and possibly more for a better version of Jormungandr, I just really don't think this is that good of a card. Especially since your opponent gets to choose which card they give up to become your Xyz material, so it's not like you can just 1-1 them and then like absorb whatever wall is in your way on their side of the field. So just looking at the monsters alone, the outlook on Generate seems pretty bleak to me. Like, I am not really feeling anything at all, not really that impressed, and honestly the designs of the main deck monsters, well, some of them are cool, but overall it just doesn't really strike me. But let's just move on to the spells and traps and see what else this deck is capable of. Generate Stage. This is the field spell for the deck and essentially the core card. Once per turn, if your opponent adds a card from their deck to their hand, you can special summon one Generate monster from your deck in defense position. So yes, because all the Generate monsters are level 9, there is no way you'll be wanting to normal summon them. So this is basically the entire engine and the bloodline of the deck. The whole deck basically runs on this card alone, and if you don't have it, Generates can't do anything. So I feel like, I mean, you're just gonna need 3 copies of this field spell, man, and maybe even 3 copies of Terraforming as well. It's just so reliant on this. And the activation of this card's first effect is not limited by card name, so you really do want 3 so that you can set 3 on the field, and when your opponent draws during their draw phase, you are literally allowed to summon 3 Generate monsters from your deck at once. This card name's second effect can only be activated once per turn. During your opponent's turn, if you special summon a Generate monster, you can special summon as many Generate tokens to your side of the field as possible. These tokens are Fairy type Light Attribute level 4 with 1500 attack and defense. But these tokens are all destroyed during the end phase. But you guys can see what's going on here, right? A lot of the Generate monsters, their second effects are quick effects that can be activated during the opponent's turn by essentially tributing Generate monsters or monsters of a certain type. All of these Generate tokens, because they have Generate in their name, they are going to count as Generate monsters. So by having this effect, and all you really need to do is successfully special summon a Generate monster on the opponent's turn, which is going to be super easy with the first effect of this field spell anyway. And then that will be, let's say your field is empty, you bring out 1 Generate, the second effect triggers, you get 4 Generate tokens. Essentially you can activate the Generate monster's effect up to 4 times. For example, if you're using the Generate of Sword Brody, you'll essentially be able to destroy 4 monsters on the opponent's field, and the Generate of Iron Dogels will basically give you up to 4 special summons of Generates from your hand. So the vibe I'm getting from this card is essentially, if you're lucky and you get this card early, best case scenario, starting hand, and even better case scenario, having 2 in your starting hand or maybe even 3, essentially you can just basically bring all your Generate monsters out and just instantly wreck. Like, the duel will be over like really fast. That's the reason why the Generate monsters themselves are so weak, because this card makes it so easy to bring them out and makes their effects so basically viable to use and destructive to the opponent. So it really doesn't matter, the Generate monsters themselves don't have to be that strong. But at the same time, this makes this deck super luck reliant, because you don't start with this. If you don't manage to get your Generate stage or a copy of Terraforming, your opponent is basically just gonna beat you up so bad, you are not even going to be able to bring out your Generate monsters. And on the whole, I don't really like that, because I just feel like this is probably going to be, first of all, quite an inconsistent deck. And even if you do manage to get your Generates, like, I still don't think the Generate monsters themselves and their effects are that strong. I mean, essentially, effect negation is your best friend here, and none of the Generate monsters have protection against any sorts of effects affecting them. Next, we have Generate Quest. You can only activate 1 card with this name per turn. Reveal to your opponent 1 Generate monster from your hand. Search your deck for up to 2 Generate spells or traps with different names and add them to your hand. After that, return the card you revealed to the bottom of your deck. Okay, so essentially, what this card is doing is saying, you don't need to run Terraforming. You just need to run 3 copies of this guy that will be able to search out your Generate spell, Generate field spell, Generate stage, and as well as another copy of other utility Generate spells or traps that you may need to basically battle the situation. So With this card alone, the outlook on Generate is looking a bit more positive. Next, we have a continuous spell called Generate Reward. This card name's second effect can only be activated once per turn. First effect, while there are tokens on your field, your opponent cannot target Generate effect monsters on your field with attacks. Second effect, if a Generate effect monster is destroyed by battle, your opponent can draw one card from your deck. Basically, this card goes super hand in hand with Generate Stage because the stage will spam tokens to your field, and then this card will basically protect your main Generate monsters from being attacked as long as you have those tokens. But if your opponent manages to get through those tokens and still smash your main Generate monsters, they will essentially get rewarded, and that is one thing I really like about this card. Like, it's a risky kind of play. Like, it gives you a really good protection, but if your opponent manages to like get through the wall and ordeal you have set for them, they get rewarded. But also by giving the opponent the draw, if you have a Generate Summon using Generate Stage that you haven't used this turn yet, you basically can activate that the moment they get the draw as well. So you do have like a safety net to fall back on even then. Moving on to traps, you have Generate Battle. You can only activate one card with this name per turn. Choose one Generate field spell from your deck or graveyard and activate it. After that, your opponent gets to draw one card from your deck. Dude, forget about terraforming! Okay, Konami understands what kind of deck they've made. This is like the most field spell reliant deck ever. That it literally has another exclusive magic card and another exclusive trap just dedicated to getting your Generate field spell out, and essentially they are encouraging you to get 3 on the field, and that's essentially your win condition, man. So that is basically it. Generate 3 copies of Generate Stage, win. If not, lose. Next, we have Generate Territory, a continuous trap. You can only activate this card name's first effect once per turn. First effect, when your opponent activates a spell, trap, or monster effect chaining to the activation of one of your Generate cards, you can discard one card from your hand, change the effect that your opponent activates to both player draws one card from your deck. So essentially this is the much needed effect protection that this deck needs, essentially refilling your resources and also giving you a potential trigger to get more Generate monsters with Generate Stage as well. Finally, we have Generate Bite, and you can only activate one card with this name per turn. Tribute any number of Generate monsters on your field and target one Xyz monster on your field. Choose as many Generate monsters from your hand, field, or graveyard with different names from the monsters you tributed. Place them as Xyz materials under your targeted monster. So this will basically just instantly soup up your Jormungandr, increasing its stats very heavily. So I feel like with all of these cards together, basically the whole point of this is to get out your Generate Stage field spell no matter at what cost as possible. Try to get 3 spam level 9 Generate monsters on your field. Use their effects to build up your field while interfering with your opponent's plays and disrupting their field. Special summon the most powerful Jormungandr you can. Give it as much Xyz materials as you can, spamming its effect and this trap card. Make it some crazy 10k attacker and destroy the opponent in one blow. Ladies and gentlemen, that is Generate. I'm not too sure what to say. I guess I'll just give some brief thoughts. I find the deck pretty interesting. I mean, to me this really feels like the first time we've got a deck that basically hobbles on top of its field spell like a literal crutch and needs it just in order to breathe, in order to function well and actually win battles. And that's something I don't really like. It just doesn't feel like balance. Like if I were to liken this deck to a weapon, it will possibly be like the most longest, heaviest, most powerful and yet unwieldy sword in the world that it is almost impossible to wield properly, and you have a higher chance of destroying yourself than destroying your opponent by like accidentally dropping the weapon or just swinging too hard and letting it fly out of control. And that's not really how I like to fight my battles. I like to have a bit more control, a bit more balance, like a really nicely well-made sword that's just made perfectly customized to my strength, and you know, I can make it move exactly the way I want. And honestly, I don't think this gimmick is going to be very good. Just my opinion. But of course all of this is just speculation because I haven't even tried the deck yet, but I am thinking of getting back into YGO Pro after I finish my Legacy of the Duelist Link Evolution playthrough, so maybe I'll give it a few shots and who knows, maybe I'll actually turn out liking it. So that'll be all for this video. If you enjoyed it, do give it a like. Let me know what you guys think about the GENERAID Archetype in the comment section down below, and don't forget to subscribe for more Yu-Gi-Oh! OCG news. And with that, hope to see you guys in the next Yu-Gi-Oh! video.
Let's go and look ahead. เอาเชิญเสร็จเข้า